Hello and welcome to this webinar on fun ideas for any classroom. This is one of my favorite webinars to actually do because these are activities that are going to keep your students engaged, excited to come back to see what they get to do the next day. It keeps them creating and it really helps build their growth mindset. So I'm Lori Guion. You can reach me at BOCES. I am the coordinator for model schools there. You can reach me with any questions, any support that you need. If you see something on the screen that you're curious about, go ahead and reach out and I'll be happy to talk to you about any of these tech products as well. I'm an ambassador to many of them because I feel like if I'm going to be teaching and training on them, I should find out everything I can about the company. And I do find being an ambassador helps give you a way to understand and see some of the new things that are coming down the pike. So here's a great quote that I found that I thought was so important. It says, "We don't just browse, click, chat, and game. We invent, we design, we create, we build, and we share." And these are the things that you really want your students doing every day in your classroom. It will allow for deeper learning, higher levels of engagement, and even better classroom management because your students will be happy to be doing the work that they're doing in their classroom. So just to keep in mind, since we're talking about this in a remote setting, that you really do want to keep it fun. You want to make sure that you're using what they have accessible to them. You don't want them to be doing something that they don't have the materials or their Wi-Fi is a little spotty, that sort of thing. You definitely want to allow for creation and exploration and definitely choice. But today we're going to focus on the fun. So one of the greatest things I've ever seen come through recently, and this is probably something you do daily and don't even think about it, but there's been a lot of study on adding a three things kind of activity to the end of your day. So a teacher was talking about this on a webinar I was on, and he was saying that at the end of every day, he asked the students to write down three good things that happened that day. And they don't have to be big things. They could be, they remembered to make it to class, right? They had their books today, they tied their shoes, whatever it happens to be, simple three things. And they're finding that people are happier because they're ending each day with something positive. So something as simple as three things is a great way for you to end your activities. It could be your exit ticket. It could be a private comment that the students put in at the end of every assignment they do with you. It's just something that takes a pause and says, here's what's happened that's good, even in the world where, sometimes we kind of get focused on the bad. I used to be an English teacher, so I love to show you some different writing activities that I like to do when I was in the classroom and ones that students really found engaging. One of my favorite ones is to rewrite the ending. Take a famous story, any kind of story, The Three Pigs, for example, and instead of the wolf knocking down the house made out of hay, maybe something else happened during that time. Something that does like a plot twist, and then they change the story. So the students take something they're familiar with and then rewrite the ending, but you're teaching all the story elements along the way. Right now, we are in the middle of a pandemic, so why not talk about this moment in time, having them do different writing activities. They could be fictional, they could be real, they could be, a biographical kind of thing or an autobiographical kind of thing, whatever you want to do. Just give them a chance to kind of write about this moment. Another thing that my kids love to do were selfie stories. They did like showing themselves, so we often did where they would cover most of their face and just have their eyes there, and then they would describe themselves or what they want to be. We'd often play music in the classroom that related to it. There's some really great positive feedback kind of songs or songs that kind of put you in the right mood. We often use the one by Lady Antebellum, and the name of it escapes me right now, but it's one where they say they're going to be anything and they can be anything they want. So there's really great stories or songs you can kind of tie into that. Bunzie is one of my favorite creation tools, and you're going to have a copy of this. You can look through all of these different activities, but here's just some activities that are really engaging for your students, but get them creating and thinking about books and stories and writing and everything along those lines. Coming up on September 15th is International Dot Day. If you're watching this after September 15th, you can still celebrate, even if it's a different day. But the idea is that students have to think of themselves as creators and thinkers and designers. And this book by Peter Reynolds is fabulous, where it teaches you that everybody has the potential inside of them to create. And so you can sign up and be part of it on a global level, or you can do it as something just fun in your classroom. But there are some links in this slide deck to kind of get you started. I also like to have the students do some free research. When I taught sixth grade, we had one year that the students only got a half year of science. So for my nonfiction unit, what I did is I had the students research something to do with science. But to get them started, I had them research different things to kind of see where their interests lie. So we'd give them something basic like this. Today I researched. When I researched, I learned. And then in the other box where my Bitmoji is right now, I might have them put some other questions they have, or even sometimes just a checkbox like, yeah, I'm done with that topic, or no, I want to learn a little bit more. One of my favorite websites for research is Wonderopolis, and I'm going to click on that and take you out to it. It's wonderopolis.org. And this website is great for your younger kids. So I would say K6 probably, but you can definitely use it with older kids as well. And you can pick any wonder of the day, and it'll always have some information as far as questions. It has videos, interactive pictures. It highlights vocabulary. It has games that they can play. And then to make it accessible, it also has immersive reader built in. So if I click on listen, it will read this to me.
Did Stonehenge have neighbors? Have you ever wondered?
And you can change that voice from male to female. You can change the size of the font to make it smaller or larger. You can increase or decrease spacing depending on what you need. Change the font to 3 different fonts. You can change the colors to whatever colors work for you and your site. You can highlight the syllables, the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives, adverbs, and you can even label all of them to help your students understand parts of speech. And then if I go over to the reading preferences, I can do a line focus that reads 1 line at a time, 3 lines, or 5. It does have a picture dictionary built in. So if I click on a word that happens to have a picture, it will show that. And then I can transfer this or translate this into over 60 different languages. So if I let's pick German today. By word, it will show me the word in English.
Past.
And in German.
Vergangenheit.
All right, I can have it also switch over the entire document into German, and it will read it.
Hatte Stonehenge Nachbarn?
Some languages it will
Haben Sie
highlight
sich
it
jemals
goes. There it
gewundert?
goes. Yep.
Was sind die Dorinkenwalds?
So at
Was
any
sind die-
point, I can look back at the original if I want to see it in English and click on any of the words to see it in the 2 different languages. So Wonderopolis is definitely one of my favorite sites because it's so accessible for kids. Another great one is Seesaw. Seesaw has done some massive upgrades this summer and has another whole bunch of really cool features coming out that are going to make Seesaw even better this fall. The links here are going to be to some fun activities, depending on whatever subject it is that you teach. But you can certainly look and sort through the activities yourself and kind of see all the different things that are available for you out there. I love to take my kids on virtual field trips. I often do this when I'm doing hyperdocs. I'll do this as an intro activity or an exploratory one. So I'm giving you a list of some pretty cool virtual field trips. This one was put together last spring for different types of environments, different things that your students can see. There's also an English or a librarian who put together these virtual tour book reviews so that you can take a look at these different books, but you get to see different things around the world through these books. And she put together these great little resources for you. And then if you click the M&M, you can actually go out to a 360 video. So I'm going to click on that. And you're going to see as I move my mouse around, I can see different parts of the video. All right, so pretty cool there.
41. My name is Leanna.
Another fun activity to do is based on the Jerry Pallotta books. You can have them do Who Will Win. The directions are right here to create your own. And then these are some student examples that are already created. And they're really fun and engaging for kids. You can also have them take a look and do this. I do this as a collaborative one where the student gets a word. They have to find characters in the stories that they've read throughout the year. So I tend to do this later in the year as they've read a bunch of different books, but sometimes you can do it based on books they've read in the past, or you can even give them picture books and have them do it with those to start to talk about the vocabulary. And they'd have to create or design a template that looks like this, that they put the definition, the characters, and then a quote that defines that word. Speaking of heroes, this past spring we started, some other teachers had started this hero thank you Bunzie board, and you can see there's tons and tons of thank yous that students have written. You can have your students put together some thank you cards to send out to the heroes in your community, or you can add them on here and share them globally. I love to do story prompts with my students. So I'll give them a fun picture. And these are just some fun pictures that I found on the internet that you can take a look at and see. And then the students have to describe the picture or try to figure out what's happening in the picture or tell the story, whatever it happens to be that you want to do. New York Times also does a weekly prompt called What's Going On in This Picture? And you'll see that they'll give you an image, but they won't tell you anything about it. And you have a week to kind of figure it out. And then they give you the story behind the picture at the end of the week. You can also do virtual makerspaces. So makerspaces might be shut down in your district because of COVID, and we don't want a lot of shared materials, but this amazing librarian put together a virtual makerspace, and you'll have access to this now. You can design your own if you want to file, make a copy, and then add in your own links of things you can do. But you can see all of these are links out to activities that you can do to really get your kids creating and designing. I made this Bitmoji search, kind of like a Where's Waldo. You can create anything with your Bitmojis. I changed outfits a few times and created this scene, but you could do this as a team with your teachers, or you can do this as something that you're doing just with yourself, and you can have the students look for things that are yellow or things that are facing right, or see how many animals they can spot. These are great things to throw in as fun activities while you're waiting for the rest of the kids to get onto like a Google Meet or something like that. So I might put this as a first slide in a Nearpod lesson as a draw it, and I'll have the students circle everything they find that is whatever it is the topic is of the day to kind of get them excited to learn and have a little fun. Plus, this was super fun to make. Another fun activity is to get your students coding. So Unruly normally are these splats, they call them, and they're these squares that you put on the floor and use them a lot in PE, but the students code them to turn different colors or make different sounds based on the actions they do, and it gets kids active while coding. Well, Unruly Splats knows that now we may not be able to do those things live, so they put together, and if you click the link, it's going to take you out to some resources for some ways to get your students coding without actually having the physical splats. Speaking of coding, if you have Dash and Dot Robots, Dash now has its own neighborhood, and you can watch a video and you can sign up, and the students can code just like they typically did the Dash robot in your classroom, but now they can do it virtually inside this neighborhood world. One of my favorite books to read with kids is called the OK Book. And this happens to be the trailer, and the little stick figure talks about how they're okay at this or that or whatever, but and then they can't wait to see what they're going to be really great at. So it's a great growth mindset type of activity to do with your students, is to read the book and then have the students put together their own books of things they're okay at, but they know that they're going to get better at. And it really kind of reminds them that it's okay to not be perfect at everything, right? Don't judge your beginning as against somebody else's middle, right? Another fun activity you can do with your students is take them to museums. So this happens to be a picture of my son when he was in the second grade. Loved Ben Franklin, and so he dressed up as Ben Franklin for a school project. And you can take them. We took them to the Franklin Institute, which is what you see here. But you can take your students on these virtual tours of all of these different museums. And a lot of them are doing some really great virtual lessons that you can actually sign up for and be a part of beyond anything you might have been able to do in the past. One of the projects I used to do with my sixth graders is when they read those science books, at the end of it, they had to create something that you could sell in the museum gift shop. And then the students would explain how it relates to what their topic was. And then they would, we'd put it out like they were shopping the store. Augmented reality is another fun way to get your students creating. So I created this one in 3D Bear.
Where will your journey take you? I know. Let's go to the moon.
So your students can use it for creative writing. They can use it for shape exploration. They can use it for, science research or social studies. Really, you can use it for anything. It's just a really great way to get your students expressing, and being creative. When we're doing all these creative things online, it's really important to think about digital citizenship. NetSmarts has put together some great videos and games and activities that are downloadable, or you can do them on the internet to help your students be safe online. They are fun, which puts it in that fun activities for the classroom, but it's also going to teach your students some really great skills that they need to be successful online. One of my favorite groups is actually OK Go. I would call them a YouTube band. They have some really incredible YouTube videos. So I'm actually going to take you out to their website or their YouTube site. And all of these videos are done pretty creatively. So this was one my students always loved. So what it is they're going to blow up a bunch of stuff in 8 seconds. And then they slow it down so you can actually see it all, or 4.2 seconds, sorry. And then they slow the whole video down. So if I go out to like the middle, you can see that as it's going, it's showing you everything that they did, but it's showing it to you in a slow motion, even though you're listening to the music loud. The kids love these. So I used to use them for transitions a lot, but I found that kids really wanted to watch the videos. So a lot of times they would transition very quickly so they can sit and watch. And this one happened to be one of their favorites. There's even one where they're in a zero gravity, like an airplane kind of thing that the kids really enjoy. But they also have partnered with Google to make some really cool activities for you to do. So if you click on their sandbox, they'll talk about different lessons, and they give you the categories. So arts and collaboration, physics and parabolas and art, flip books, physics again, machines. So you can see some really fun lessons to do with your kids that relate to one of the videos that they made. Oh, I went to YouTube again. Sorry about that. Here we go. I also love to do STEM exploration with students. I have an example of one that's really kind of fun here, where the students are going to watch a video that's on Flipgrid of a scientist. And this scientist happens to be a marine biologist who collects whale snot. And you can see that she says, I use drones to collect whale snot. So the kids get to watch it, and then they can watch other scientists, and they can learn about different things that you can do in the science fields around the world. So it's a great way for students to explore different careers. Choice boards are fabulous for helping your students learn and kind of have some free choice. So I'm giving you some different choice boards that are available to kind of take a look at different things you can do with your students. If you're a math teacher, Mathagon is super fun. Mathagon takes you out to all these different activities. There's a polypad, a timeline, all sorts of origami and games and exploration that have to do with math that really show the cool ways that math actually is in the world. PhET simulations are great. And then if you teach chemistry, this one is super cool. IBM put together an AI web service to predict chemical reactions. So you predict what's going to happen against the computer, and you see who's right, and you can help the computer learn. So you're doing some machine learning, and you're doing some artificial intelligence all built in there. I'm going to end today with a few more reading resources of really fun things you can do with your students or ways to get some information from them. And again, I'm going to give you some more resources. If you have any questions, reach out anytime. I am happy to help.